All right, we are live.
All right, we're going to get started in just 1 minute. All right. Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Sandy Moore. I'm the Executive Director of the Leesburg Area Chamber of Commerce, and we are so excited to be able to host this forum tonight. I want to recognize our trustees, ESI, A-Line Fire and Safety, Stokes Seafood Market and more, and Lake Trucking, Southern Bank, Insight Credit Union, Byers Funeral Home and Orange Blossom Opry, Lassiter Ware, Consolidated Minerals, Jenkins Auto Group, Montverde Academy, Acres Media, Center State Bank, Romac Building Supply, UF Health, Leesburg, City of Leesburg Electric Department, and Comcast. We appreciate our trustees. They have really, they help us do what we can do here. So I'm excited to be with you all tonight. I want to introduce our moderator, which is one of our chamber members, Mandy Wetstein, and she is going to be introducing our candidates, and she's also going to be kind of keeping the night going. So thank you so much, Mandy. We appreciate you. And here we go.
You're welcome. Thank you, candidates. I'm going to get you all started with your introductions. For your introductions, you will each have 60 seconds. We're going to take every question randomly and in different orders. So be prepared at any time for us to call your name. For introductions, we're going to start with District 5. And these will just go in alphabetical order, starting with Josh Blake, 60-second introduction.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. My name is Josh Blake. I'm currently the County Commissioner for District 5, which is North Lake County. I've been on the commission since 2016, my first election. Prior to that, I worked for the Florida House of Representatives for 8 years and worked for the Republican Party of Florida on special elections before that. My wife, Jackie, works in the school system, and we have 4-year-old twins, which is exciting always. But I ran in 2016 on a platform of lower taxes. I promised not to raise any taxes or fees. And I promised to do what I could to keep the government out of your hair, which means deregulate, and keep them out of your wallet, which means try to maintain the government as an efficient operation that does not keep reaching into the pocketbooks of the taxpayers every time something comes up, to try to plan ahead and run it as closely to a business or a personal budget as possible. And my website, if you need any information about me, is blakeforlake.com. And you can always contact me there with any additional questions. And I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Moving on for 60-second introduction, District 5, candidate Todd Luce.
Well, good evening, everybody. And thank you for having us, Leesburg Chamber. I appreciate it. And I'm honored to be here. Folks, my name is Todd Luce. I'm a Republican candidate for District 5. I have been honored to serve the citizens of this county for the past 30 years in the capacity of a deputy sheriff. 25 years of that service was in a position of leadership where I came up through the ranks, and I just recently retired after 12 years at the table as a command staff member. I want to bring to District 5 with me a professionalism that I was with the sheriff's office as far as fiscally responsible. I will bring a vote that is fair to all constituents throughout Lake County, that is responsible enough that does not jeopardize our quality of life here in Lake County, nor does it jeopardize our public safety or the safety of those that provide public safety to you. I have a wife, Angie. We've been married for about 31 years.
All right, District 5, 60 seconds for our final candidate from this District 5, Gabriel Ruiz.
Good evening. I'm Gabriel Ruiz, candidate for District 5. I'm a family man. I have a wife, 2 kids, and I work for the county currently. I run the Signal for the traffic. We do surveys. I do a lot of the technical side. I've been in utility work. I worked for the city of Leesburg. I was part of their SCADA operations, where we opened, closed, and maintained the grid for the electric distribution of the city of Leesburg. Prior to that, I spent 10 years in the Marine Corps. I have 2 combat tours. I experienced NATO operations with the Georgians. In that capacity, I have a lot of federal government relations, and I also have a lot of municipality relations in the military capacity. I helped out with Hurricane Katrina. Thank you for having me.
District 3 candidates next in alphabetical order. Wendy Breeden, 60-second introduction. I think you're muted. There you go.
Now I'm not. So hi, I'm Wendy Breeden. I'm the current Lake County Commissioner for District 3, and I'm honored to have served you for the last 4 years. And if reelected, I will be reelected on August 18th in the primary. And I will promise to keep your taxes low. We've now reduced the millage rate for 2 years in a row, to continue to support public safety, both our sheriff and our firefighters, to continue with civil discourse with my colleagues and with the public, because we have changed the culture of Lake County government. And for the next 4 years, we need to work on attainable housing and workforce housing and our roads. So I hope you will vote for me on August 18th. And you can find out information at Wendy Breeden 2020 on Facebook.
District 3 candidate Kirby Smith.
Hello, my name is Kirby Smith. I was born in Eustis, moved 3 miles to Tavares. I'm married 28 years, have a 25-year-old son that works in the family business. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. I'm a state certified building contractor. I'm the senior engineering manager for CenturyLink, been there for 28 years. I've been 10 years on Tavares City Council, serving as mayor, vice mayor, and council member. I just have a couple things that we like to do: reduce taxes, get rid of government waste, take care of our first responders. We can do all this without raising taxes. We can do it by bundling of services, public-private partnerships, vendor relationships. KirbySmith2020.com. You can call me. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your vote on August 18th.
Moving on to District 1 in alphabetical order, Doug Shields.
Hello, I'm Doug Shields. Thanks for having me. I worked 3 years as a certified public accountant, then 9 years for the CIA, where I performed audits of billion-dollar projects. Next 15 years, I moved to new business creation, including 2 tech startups, and then teaching our U.S. military how to become entrepreneurs themselves. My leadership abilities were tested when 9/11 hit, impacting all of my businesses, much like COVID today. I honed my leadership skills in non-business settings by running my church and my son's Cub and Boy Scout packs. I spent 3 years teaching the SBA-funded Boost the Business program at U.S. military bases worldwide, teaching 47 classes in 6 countries. 8 years ago, I started a community group to get our voices heard when county decision-making conflicted with a comprehensive plan. My vision for the county starts with fixing county finances. The fact that we got downgraded by Moody's is really all you need to know. I want to restore trust at the county level, that every resident is heard in decision-making is based on what our citizens want. I would like to protect our environment and our quality of life so that those businesses that rely on tourism to this beautiful area continue to prosper.
I don't think that Tim Sullivan, candidate for District 1, has resolved his technical issues. I can't tell. Is Tim Sullivan made it in yet?
Hold on.
No? Okay.
I don't think so.
So we're moving on to our first question. We are going to start with District 3. District 3, Here is your question. You all will have 2 minutes to answer this, and I can repeat it if you all need me to before the next candidate speaks. So District 3, 2 minutes. Here is your question. Property taxes for this year's taxes are based on pre-COVID conditions. As such, any millage rate over the rollback rate will be a burden for businesses, many of whom have lost over 50% of their revenue. The question for you both is, do you support the rollback rate? And Kirby Smith, you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. Something happened there. Can y'all hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So you're exactly right. The rollback rate, the estimated rollback rate this year is going to be about 4.8. I believe the county commission is trying to get the millage rate down to 5.1 or 5.04, which is still a tax increase. I've said this in just about every meeting we've had. If we don't go back to rollback rate this year, because people are struggling, businesses are shutting down. We went from 3% unemployment to 10% unemployment due to the government shutting the businesses down, and people rightfully being worried about what to do. So I 100% agree that we need to fight for going to the rollback rate, if any year, this year. We can do that by looking at some positions that may be on the board, maybe shuffling them out for 6 or 8 months. I'm not privy to the budget because we haven't had the budget workshops yet for the public. But if you think like a small business, which I have experience in, I'm a small business owner, I know how to navigate through treacherous waters like this. So we need to fight for and make sure we hit the rollback rate this year to help people. People are struggling. They're trying to get back on their feet. Anything above the rollback rate is a tax increase. I've been saying that for months. So I agree with the rollback rate, and we just need to figure out how to do it. And bundling of services, public-private partnerships, vendor relationships, maybe offsetting some, my time's up, maybe some offsetting some positions that were there, hold back, hold steadfast. Let's get back to the rollback rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirby. Moving on to District 3 candidate Wendy Breeden. Same question. Do you support the rollback rate?
Well, yes, I am unmuted. I think we really need to work to try to get there. And we did take that first step and reduce the millage rate a little bit, did a partial rollback already. We need to work with our constitutional officers. I'm getting a lot of feedback. I don't know if some people are not muted, but anyway, it would take full cooperation with our constitutional officers if we reduce too much beyond what we are now, but I want to fight for it because actually 60% of our ad valorem taxes go to fund our constitutional officers. And we are going to be able to help some of our businesses. We have with our hopefully $64 million in CARES Act funding and some additional funding to help individuals with mortgages and rental situations. We may be even looking at helping each household and I hope we can do that. I'm going to work to get us back to rollback. I just don't know that if it is realistic and what 2 months will bring to us. So hopefully we won't have any hurricanes on top of COVID.
Okay, thank you. Moving on now, these questions are going to be for District 1.
Just so you know, Mandy.
Yes.
It's on now.
I'm sorry. Yes. I'm trying to follow your order. I apologize. District 5, you all are up next. District 5, this will be for all 3 of you. You will have 2 minutes. This time we're starting with candidate Gabriel Ruiz, 2 minutes for the following question. What is your position and thoughts on how to fund roads?
My position on funding roads is the same with quite a few things. I feel the county over the years has lost I'm sorry, I shouldn't say lost, but we do not work well on keeping the money within the county. To fund roads, I definitely would not raise taxes, but we need to work together. And I'm not previous to this information, but with the businesses, with the residents, and give incentives to keep money here. So many, you just talk to anybody. Where are you going this weekend? Orlando. Where are you going this weekend? The Springs. There is nothing here to keep money here. You know, we have a very great lifestyle here, but it caters very specifically to a group, and we need to really broaden that. And by doing so, you will generate money, and you will have more options to say, I can take this pot, this bank, and utilize it for utilities such as roads. Personally, I would like to see the county adopt and make a couple more county utilities to give the residents a competition for services. We have fiber. I would like to see gas pumped out to the northern rural Lake County. So when we do get a hurricane, those residents aren't without power for days or weeks. All of that generates revenue. And I think we have intelligent people. We just got to get together and think about those things and move forward with those things. And, we've been kind of stale, and the people are there. The skill set is there. We just need to trust in the people that are working for us to move us forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, the question for District 5, Josh Blake. What is your position and thoughts about how to fund roads?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a number of ways. It depends on what we're talking about. If you're talking about new construction of roads to deal with increased capacity, we have something called the transportation impact fee. So when a big development comes in, they pay a per unit price on the transportation impact fee, and those are divided into 3 different districts. And that money that's collected has to be spent in that district. If you're talking about maintaining and resurfacing our existing road network, we have traditionally paid for that out of a combination of general fund and gas taxes, and then also some money from the infrastructure sales tax, the penny sales tax. When that was reauthorized in, I guess it was 2015, 2014, the percentage of that money that was earmarked for resurfacing roads was reduced, and they created a new category called the quality of life category. It goes to parks and a number of different things. So when we had our discussion in the county commission last year about how to catch up on roads, and we have a rating system called the PASER system, where we rate the condition of our roads and we try to keep them at a certain level of service. We actually ended up going and getting a $10 million loan to catch up on some of those lower condition roads. My argument has been, rather than pay interest on a loan, temporarily earmark an additional percentage from our infrastructure sales tax to keep us up to date so that we don't fall behind, and so that we're keeping up with our growth in the county and making sure that we don't have a huge problem down the road and a lot more to catch up on. And my argument in that case was so that we don't pay $2 million in interest. I mean, that $2 million could go to some other priorities within the infrastructure sales tax spending line items. And so I do think that when it comes time to catch up, you don't go and borrow and pay interest. I think the wise thing to do is just to temporarily earmark and allocate more of that infrastructure sales tax money to catch us up on roads, which to me, that's a core infrastructure for the county.
You muted yourself, Mandy. Mandy, I think you're muted.
I fixed it. I didn't even know I muted myself. Sorry. Candidate Todd Luce, from the moderator who shut herself off. What is your position on funding roads?
So actually, Commissioner Blake and I have about the same opinion on this as far as the infrastructure monies that have been allotted and used for that in the past. We need to make sure that we're prioritizing roadways with the growth and things of that nature. and not taking that money and funding other projects. I know there's been a discussion in the past about gas tax that could possibly assist with funding the roadways over the time. I would like to see that venture looked at in a sense where we're educating everybody on it. We look at it thoroughly. It's a usage tax for all people that pass through here, not just at the burden of our taxpayers here in Lake County. So I'm not saying that that's the answer to it, but I would sure like to see that study looked at and see if that's a possibility that could assist with this matter. We definitely need to make sure that our developers, when development comes in, we need to make sure that our new roadways, that developers are taking part in putting funds towards those to supply that demand that they're putting on with the new developments coming. But the biggest answer is we've got to be consistent with a plan where we're not borrowing against our infrastructure that's already implemented in so many ways to make sure that we're prioritizing. Efficiencies is another way. If we go through, with this COVID situation, you're right, there are some uncertain issues with funds coming into the state and all. We just need to look at this, slow down, look at it, evaluate and prioritize our projects, and roadways and quality of life all go together. And we've got to make sure that we find the right funding there.
Thank you. Moving on to District 1. Has candidate Tim Sullivan been able to join us yet?
Yes.
I'm here.
Oh, hey, Tim Sullivan, you're up first. And you have 2 minutes, by the way, 2 minutes for this question. District 1, Tim Sullivan, how do you define appropriate growth management?
Well, at Lake County, we have a comprehensive plan. That comprehensive plan covers all parts of the county, and we implement that plan each and every day. Every time a development comes into Lake County, they have to go be a part of the comprehensive plan. And that is the way that we control growth. If there's a change to that comprehensive plan, for some reason, for instance, infrastructure is moving out of the cities with water and sewer. So that creates a different idea or a different way to provide utilities to that growing population. So that may constitute a change in the comprehensive plan. To do that, they have to come before the county commission, request a change to the comprehensive plan. That comprehensive plan has to be sent to the Department of Economic Opportunity for approval, and then it comes back down. So there is a process to do that, and we stay up with that each and every day. Give you an example. We're growing growth immensely, but not too immensely. We really got a good handle on it. We've grown by about 5% over the last 5 years, which is a good steady growth rate, and we're able to keep up with that growth rate. But if that changes, we'll have to continue to make changes to the comprehensive plan as we move forward. So we're doing a great job in that category.
Thank you. Moving on, District 1, candidate Doug Shields. How do you define appropriate growth management?
Well, that's an interesting question because that's why I'm sitting here right now. 8 years ago or so, I drove out my driveway and there was one of those dreaded yellow signs change in the zoning. And so I went to work, tried to figure out what was happening. And the comprehensive plan at the time showed that there were going to be 8 houses on this big chunk of land, that, empties out into the lake I live on. And it gotten through zoning already and gotten to the commission, and they were going to put 300 houses on it. So I grabbed all of the residents and, got the community to show up to the meeting, and we finally did get them to turn that back with a lot of work and effort. And I couldn't figure out, as a private citizen, why am I having to keep the commission's feet to the fire and following the comprehensive plan? So I think it's a great plan. It's very well defined. And I would like to stick with it unless there are compelling events, just like a business plan, that have overtaken, what was the assumptions written in the comprehensive plan. You do that with a business plan. But in cases I've seen, there have been no reason to overrule the comprehensive plan. And again, that's why I'm sitting here today, because that's why how I got involved in county politics.
Thank you. Moving on, District 3, 2 minutes for each of you. District 3, 2 minutes. Here is your question. Many surrounding counties use a public-private partnership model for economic development. Do you support moving Lake County into the direction of a similar model for economic development of this public-private model? This time we're going to start with Todd Luce. You have 2 minutes on the question.
Is this District 3?
Todd Luce is District 5.
It's, she just said the wrong district, I think.
Yeah, I've got the wrong district on this sheet. Okay, so I'm sorry, District 5, you're up first. My apologies. I was going in order of the sheet, but I put the wrong number down. District 5, my apologies on all of you. Todd Luce, I'll repeat the question. Many surrounding counties use a public-private partnership model for economic development. Do you support moving Lake County in this direction of a similar model of having the public-private partnership sector for economic development? Todd Luce, you have 2 minutes.
Absolutely, Mandy, and I applaud them for recently involving the Lake 100 in with the affordable and attainable housing issue that's going on. And actually, I had the opportunity to attend one of the pre-planning meetings. The county government should be run just as a business, and what better way to include our local and business leaders out here that have measures on hand every day that they face that we could apply to the governmental relationship. We've got some fantastic leadership out here in the county, and I'm sure that they'd be willing and wanting to get involved. You know, every good leader knows that if you include buy-in and you include someone's opinion and they're partaking in the process, it's a win-win plan. So I applaud this measure with the affordable attainable. There's a couple of issues on hand that we could really prosper from with economic development, especially in the trails, the cross-connecting trails across the state and through our county. I think that there are studies out here that show that the impact could be just great economic driver through the county, and these leaders are out here willing to partner with us to get to that point. And so I would use that model and encourage that model in the daily practices at the county government.
Thank you. Moving on, District 5. Many surrounding counties use a public-private partnership model for economic development. Do you support moving Lake County in this direction for candidate Gabriel Ruiz?
I always support anything that is team and relationship building. But with that said, I would be 100% on board with the strictest of guidelines. I can't say it would be fair to allow a giant, more prosperous company, to win something over a small and up and coming company. I mean, that's not what we do in government. You know, we have to look out for everybody, broad spectrum. So yes, it's a great idea, but a great idea that should be treaded lightly. So I agree with caution. It would give us a ability to regroup on our end. Would you want to do it forever? You know, those are questions that, would be raised. Do we just need to do it to help us out momentarily? And at what point is the government still in control versus the corporation or the business having more of the control over assets? And I will never, ever sell natural resources to a corporation to delegate as they choose. I see that as a threat in the possibility of that union.
Thank you. Candidate Josh Blake, the public-private model for economic development, question to you. There are 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I consider myself sort of an old school free market conservative. And so I really generically speaking, think there's very little that the government does better than the private sector. I will give a shout out to our current economic development folks and say that, for example, with the Kroger Ocado distribution center deal that Brandon Matulka and his team have done a great job. I think the more input you can get from the private sector on any of those plans, I think you end up with a better product. I think not just when it comes to economic development. I mean, the reason we have a great, turnpike interchange down there in Mineola is because we had a private landowner who donated property and worked together with the Turnpike Authority to make that happen. So I think public-private partnerships across the board are a great idea. And like I said, I think oftentimes the private sector knows how to do things better, more efficiently. So anytime that we can outsource some of those things, I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. District 1, your 2-minute question. Do you think taxes are at an appropriate level for Lake County? Tim Sullivan, you're up first, 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much. I do believe that our taxes are at an appropriate level. And I say that based on the fact that we've been able to move back our millage rate each and every year since the one time we've raised it in the 8 years that I've been a commissioner, in which I voted against. Because we've had good quality, steady growth, because we have not only relied on residential growth, but industrial and business growth, then that's afforded us a great opportunity. 60% of the revenues that have grown are off the backs of homeowners, and 60% of that growth is based on the property values that we all experience. So your property value went up. So we've tried to reduce taxes to reduce the tax burden. 40% on average over the last 5 years has been new growth that's come in. And that's where we've been stellar, because we're changing the growth mechanism, not just from residential, but commercial. Our big project in Groveland was just mentioned. That's a way that we have quality growth, we provide jobs, and we improve the quality of life of Lake County in all different ways. So I think we're doing a great job of managing our taxes, and we discuss it each and every year and review it as we move forward.
District 1, Doug Shields. Do you think taxes are at an appropriate level for Lake County? 2 minutes.
When I talk to people, it's certainly not, top of mind. I think, more is the fact that, revenues have gone up and our reserves have actually gone down. Our financial position's gotten worse. I'd like to use my audit experience and get in there and have a look and see what happened. But I think that, we've got to do a better job of hanging on to the money that we have and saving for a rainy day. It's coming right now. We already talked about it earlier in this discussion. COVID is going to have a giant impact on every in Florida, and certainly, someone mentioned getting whacked by another hurricane. So I think, the more important thing is look at from a macro level, what are our spending priorities and what are our saving priorities, and are we putting the money in the right place, and are we saving enough for a rainy day? And I'm not sure that we are.
I'm going to pretend that you didn't ever use the word hurricane. Thank you. Moving on to District 3. Your question is this for 2 minutes. The sheriff accounts for almost 50% of Lake County's budget, but doesn't submit an actual budget to the county for review. What is your position on the sheriff to submit an annual budget with a similar level of detail, such as the county's budget? Wendy Breeden, you're up first for 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Hold on. Okay. So yes, the budget that the sheriff submits to us every year is probably about three pages. Now I do know that each year the chairman goes over and meets with him, and some of the other commissioners do as well, and goes over his budget in fine detail. I would like to see the sheriff submit a more detailed budget publicly. But I do think that he does a great job with the funds that he gets. And I think our population now is greater than Marion County, yet Marion County Sheriff's budget, I think, is about 20% greater than Lake County Sheriff's. And we have worked hard with the sheriff so that he can get his budget increased, both for raises for his deputies and also to hire 24 new deputies. And that's really been money well spent. The latest statistics show that crime is down in Lake County by 17%. And you have to remember that Lake County geographically is not an easy county to serve because it's long and narrow and has a bunch of lakes in the middle of it. But yes, I would like to see the sheriff work a little bit more on his budget presentation, but I do believe he spends his budget wisely.
Thank you. District 3, Kirby Smith, do you need me to repeat the sheriff's budget question?
Yeah, can you repeat that question? Because when you were asking it, there was some crackling in the background. I didn't hear all of it.
Not a problem. You'll have 2 minutes to answer the following question, Kirby. The sheriff accounts for almost 50% of Lake County's budget, but does not submit an actual budget to the county for review. What is your position of asking the sheriff to submit an annual budget with a similar level of detail like the county's budget?
Yeah, it should be a line item budget. I know that the sheriff's budget, 37% of the sheriff's budget goes to the jail. $5 million of the sheriff's budget goes to the state of Florida through SRF. So those are some of the things that aren't mentioned. The sheriff receives a revenue of $10 million for services that he provides through dispatch and through police services for the city of Mineola. So there is some revenue income that he does. There are some things that he's out of his control. I do know that he has workshops once a month for the business sector to go over his budget for transparency. If a county commissioner is not involved in any of those, then they very well should be. I can tell you I will be. I've talked to the sheriff many a times about his budget. The county has grown 20% in the last 10 years. He is at about 2010 rating. His personnel is sitting around about 2010 levels. We need to get that up. We had several protests here in Lake County with no issues over the last couple of months. That's because we have a strong sheriff, but that takes personnel and it takes overtime. We have a jail down in Claremont that's not open all the time because of the shortfalls of the issues in the budget. So, and that affects everybody. I mean, the city of Claremont, the jails in Claremont, if it's not open, then a person in Claremont, a police officer in Claremont would have to drive somebody to Tavares to take them to jail, then drive them back. And that's a 2-hour out of office situation. We can fix that. I know my time's up. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to the second round of questions. These questions, you will have 60 seconds to answer. All of you will be asked the same question. We will go in a different random order. So be prepared because your name could be called next, please. So 60 seconds, the question to all of you. Do you believe impact fees are at an appropriate level? And how do they affect economic development? So the question is about impact fees. Do you think they're at an appropriate level for Lake County? How do they affect economic development? 60 seconds for Josh Blake.
Yeah, no, I think impact fees should be reduced. That's one thing I ran on in 2016. A common sort of misunderstanding about impact fees is people think, well, the developer comes in when a new home is paid, is built here, and that impact fee is paid, and the development ought to pay for that. Well, what ends up happening is the developer just rolls that into the price of his home, and it goes directly to the home buyer in Lake County. keep in mind that the largest impact fee, the largest single fee that we have is the school district fee, and that's about $10,000. It's a little bit under that. We recently lowered it. I think that one thing we can do is to make sure that only the building projects that are actually having an impact even have to mess with that. And I do believe they should be lower, in some cases eliminated. But for example, there's been a study out in Seattle that cottage style homes, tiny homes, we're talking about an affordable housing crisis here, that they don't have an impact on school systems. So I think that we need to go back and have alternative impact fee studies to make sure that we're not charging it, especially where there is no actual impact.
Thank you. Doug Shields, 60 seconds. Are impact fees at an appropriate level in Lake County, and how do you think they impact economic development?
So that's one of the things I've got on my website is I want to take a close look at impact fees, because I know for a while we put them at 0. And so then all of the developers from the other counties came roaring in, and then the you got to pay for the schools and the roads somehow. And so that the residents wind up getting stuck with the bill. So I think we really want to have a close look at that. And I think, everybody would want to pay for an impact fee because, or would support an impact fee, because if the $10,000 fee on a new house, the price of your house just went up 10,000, and you have less money that you're going to have to pay next year to maintain everything. So it doesn't seem like, that hard of a sell to have impact fees to cover our schools and our roads.
Thank you. Kirby Smith, impact fees.
When I was on the city of Tavares during the recession, we had, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
We were in a recession. We're trying to do economic development. So the city of Tavares cut all impact fees to try to get developments to come in. Commercial businesses are huge. They pay about, well, I won't go into that. Anyway, impact fees are okay. But when you're at a time like this, maybe you need to reduce them to get some commercial business for economic development to come in. We did it in the city of Tavares. 1 year of no impact fees related into $52 million a year in revenue for the city through commercial businesses. So it depends on the situation you're in. It depends on the times you're in. So it's something you have to look at every year.
Thank you. Wendy Breeden, are impact fees at an appropriate level, and how do they affect economic development?
Okay, I think impact fees have been a discussion, a point of contention ever since I've been on the board. Some people think they're necessary and some people don't. And we've tried to strike a balance. I am glad we were able to reduce the school impact fees a little bit. We do need to, I think during these times, we need to look at especially the school impact fees and decide whether those need to be brought down a little bit on a temporary basis, because they're kind of the elephant in the room. The school impact fees also, we are in the middle of doing a study for alternative housing and for tiny homes to see if they impact fees, especially school impact fees, waived. Really? That's 2 minutes?
You get 1 minute for this one.
Oh, 1 minute. Darn. Okay.
Okay. Todd Luce, you're up.
So the simple answer is yes, they definitely need to be reviewed. I was talking to a builder the other day, and $13,000 paid before he could even start with a shovel in the ground. And that all goes into the unaffordable issues with homes and for our workforce measures and everybody out here. But definitely need to be looked at, and it does have an impact on the economic drive in this county. And also the land development regulations need to be looked at to loosen up some density issues, and also the tiny home issue is a great thought as well. So definitely not appropriate level right now and need to be reviewed.
Thank you. Tim Sullivan, are impact fees at an appropriate level and how do they affect economic development? You have 1 minute.
Impact fees are a tax any way you look at them. Our impact fees are at appropriate level. We don't level them at 100%, especially in the area of transportation, which are our biggest ones. And because we've been able to keep up with that growth at a reduced level, and that's made it easy for us to help with the infrastructure. Secondly, the state legislature just passed some legislation that says for attainable housing and other important issues, you don't have to find a funding source to pay those impact fees, because you can reduce them without it. So it wouldn't affect our millage or our taxes, and we could still meet the needs of the citizens of Lake County.
Thank you. Gabriel Ruiz, the impact fee question to you for 60 seconds, sir.
Definitely would have to do a model where we lowered over time. Just saying we're going to take it to zero or close to economic slinky effect. We don't want to pay for it later. Like was brought up many times before, there will be a shortcome from COVID. The more money we print, the more our dollar inflates. If another stimulus goes through, it's even going to be a greater problem. So we just need to make sure if we do decide to cut it down, we do it on a slope. That way, if we come to a point where we say, hey, this is it, this is the furthest we can go, at least it's not a shock to the people, it's not a shock to the builders, and we can maintain a steady economy.
Thank you. Next question, 60 seconds for each of you. What do you think the top 3 legislative priorities should be for Lake County? 60 seconds. What do you think the top 3 legislative priorities should be for Lake County? This question will start with Tim Sullivan.
Okay, I got 60 seconds. I'll give you 3 big ones. Infrastructure, because so much of the infrastructure in Lake County is state infrastructure, 27, 441, Turnpike, et cetera, are all strategic intermodal. So we need to make sure that we're getting our fair share to keep that infrastructure in place. 2, trails. Trails are an economic driver and help not only the county, but the cities. And we've got a great system that we could build upon to connect with many trails. Heck, to give you an example, trails in Marion County bring in 3 million visitors a year. That would be a great economic driver for Lake County. And 3rd is hydrilla in our lakes. Believe it or not, Game and Fish and Game of the state is in charge of our lakes for stuff like hydrilla. We need to make sure that the state funds that so that they take responsibility for what is their responsibility, because our lakes are also an economic driver.
Todd Luce, top 3 legislative priorities for Lake County, in your opinion. You have 60 seconds, sir.
Make sure I unmuted. So yes, number 1, we need to make sure that we are taking care of our resources here in Lake County, and we're protecting those the best we can for our future. Infrastructure, I agree with Mr. Sullivan. Our roadways and connecting highways make Lake County very desirable. And we need to make sure that the state is taking care of their part as far as the upkeep and maintaining on those. As far as a 3rd, I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to work with our state partners to get the funding that is deserved for our businesses here to keep our economy strong and our people, and make sure we're taking care of there, and that any allocated funding that is legislated or what have you for the economic development and keeping our people going here since COVID, I want to make that a priority.
Thank you. Kirby Smith, your top 3 legislative priorities for Lake County.
Well, I've got 6 of them. They're right here in my pamphlet. They've always been on my pamphlet. They're reduce taxes and stop government waste, increase reserves. I'm a big reserve guy. I think when you had reserves in case there's an issue down the road like this tropical storm that's coming. Fund the Sheriff's Department, help our first responders. That's extremely important. Invest in our infrastructure. It's already been mentioned. If we can't have infrastructure, you can't have great economic development. And preserve and protect our environment. It's not, you can preserve and protect our environment through education, not regulation. We just need to let people know what's going on.
Kirby, you said tropical storm.
Not a hurricane yet, I don't
Yeah.
think.
Well, no, I don't want you guys like this bad juju. Okay. Wendy Breeden, your top 3 legislative priorities for Lake County.
All right, the top one really is for the school system, not just the county, because the funding formula for the school system really unfairly hits Lake County and about 8 middle-sized counties, and I don't feel that we get the proper funding for our schools, and it's desperately needed. So I'd like for that to be changed. Agricultural mining, there's a loophole which allows mining, especially we're having problems with it in the Wekiva area. We need to get that loophole closed. And I think indexing the local gas taxes would help in the long term.
Thank you. Gabriel Ruiz, what do you think your top 3 legislative priorities would be for Lake County? 60 seconds, sir.
Top 3 priorities would be economic stability, safety net, just making sure we have the funds available, like I said before, for emergencies. Also, I would like to see agriculture come back. It used to be such a part of our lifestyle here, and it's slowly disappearing. And there are things out there that can generate revenue for us that we can do here. Also, strong business development. And not just the businesses. You know, we did bring Kroger in here, but, you know, most of that Kroger will be automated. So there won't be that many jobs generated from the factory. I would like to see tech industries come here, not so much for manufacturing, but for corporate. And we would have internships out of our high schools, out of our local colleges. It would just be really great to bring that here. And I think it would keep in line with our wanting to be conservative with our natural resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh Blake, top 3 legislative priorities for Lake County.
Yes. So one kind of ties into the last question. I do think, you know, the legislation that was passed, I guess last year, the session before, I can't remember, it allowed local governments to provide impact fee waivers without making up that revenue from another part of the general fund. I think if they could take the cap off of that to allow local municipalities to determine what's appropriate, that would give us some flexibility to address the affordable housing crisis. I'll concur with everybody else on transportation funding. I think that's always going to be a priority of local government. But the third one is deregulation from the state level. I think we need to take a really close look after the last few months of the observations we've all made at what the emergency powers of the state and the local governments have allowed them to do to the small business community. I think we need to take a really close look at limiting the authority of the government to interfere in the private sector, even during declared emergencies. I think it's been wildly unfair in how they've picked and chosen who to target. And I think that we have to take a close look at that in Tallahassee.
Time.
So at this point, I have a question for Sandy. Are you prepared, should we now, in keeping with your goal of 1 hour, move on to the 2-minute summaries?
Yes.
Okay, so you will each now have 2-minute summary, wrap up, anything you want to add for our viewers. Again, this is being recorded for replay as well. Your 2-minute summary, we will start with Gabriel Ruiz.
I want to thank everybody for having me this evening. All residents that are watching, appreciate your attention. To wrap it up though, a vote for me is a vote for veteran benefits. Vote for me is going to bring agriculture back here. We're going to keep our taxes sustainable. For everybody out there that is in a bar situation or a waitress, it's not fair. And, you know, to know that you have your county government backing you, I think a lot of you would have made different choices. I would back you. There is a priority of our government that they have to take care of the people. And, you know, if it was me, and it was a question of if I could lose my job over it, protecting a small business owner, so be it. That's the purpose of leadership. Also, if we do fall on hard times, I'm willing to donate my salary. And I'm not saying that loosely just for votes or whatnot, but I have dealt and lived very tight shoestring budget in my lifetime. I don't come from money, wealth, those types of things. So if the people that are under my guard are struggling, I should not be living high on the hog. I'm not saying I should struggle as well. That doesn't make for an effective leader, but I definitely see room to donate, and I see room for inefficiencies to be.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Shields, coming to you next for your 2-minute wrap up or summary, whatever you want to add, sir. 2 minutes.
So I'm an entrepreneur, but I teach entrepreneurship, but I still think we need to do a better job of balancing the business interests with the citizen interests. We've got some conflicts going on, and I think we just need to do a better job of sorting that out. I like to see us doing smart growth, not just popping up, subdivisions wherever. Let's plan it ahead of time, get the infrastructure in place. Wellness Way, a great example, going in Claremont. I would like to see us, think about the environment and the impact on our tourism and our businesses when we make some of these decisions. In Claremont, we've got a great trail system, and you guys have a great one up there too now in Leesburg. It's a great, driver of economic development. I think we should focus on getting our secondary schools just as good as they can be. A buddy of mine, when he goes and he's looking for a new place to put in a plant, first thing he'll look at is how good are the schools, because that is that's a product, that really that's going to affect the output of their product. That's an input rather, the quality schools. And I know you guys up there have Beacon College, and I'm sure that's a great economic driver as well. My cousin actually brought his daughter down from Chicago to wound up not going, but that's a great economic driver. Again, talked about looking at impact fees and seeing if we can't, pay for some stuff ahead of time. And any more information, it's on my website, shieldsforlake.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Kirby Smith, 2-minute summary, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity for me to express my opinions. I hope that I express opinions that you agree with. Like I said, I'm a Lake County guy. I've been here my entire life. I was born in Eustis. I live in Tavares. I love this county. This is the place to be. It's a good place to live, work, and play. We just need to do a couple of things to help it out. I believe that the person on the commission should have a small business mindset. I have that. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. I've been a senior engineering manager for 27 years at a major corporation. So I have the experience, I have the knowledge, I have the tenacity to help us move forward in a positive direction. I believe we can work well with our state representatives and the other county commissioners that are on the board. I mean, you have to have solidarity, and you have to have insight, and you have to have. I've always managed by facts, right? So if you don't have the facts, you can't manage correctly. Small business owner for 25 years. I really appreciate having you here. You can look me up on my website, kirbysmith2020.com. You can email me at kirbysmith2020@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook at kirbysmith2020, so I'm all over the place. Just remember Kirby Smith 2020, and especially remember Kirby Smith on August 18th. I would appreciate your vote. Call me up anytime. I'm more than willing to talk to you. I can talk to you about any issue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving next for 2-minute summary to Tim Sullivan.
Well, thank you very much. During my almost 8 years as a county commissioner, we supported our school system. We brought in the Advanced Manufacturing Center to create economic opportunities. We fought for low taxes. We created economic opportunities for all, not just one segment of the population, and preserved our quality of life and natural resources. During this crazy time with the COVID-19, it is not a time to take a risk on untested and unproven leaders. To provide a strong future, we must continue our focus on growing economic opportunities, keeping taxes low, and protecting our rights. If I'm honored by your repeat vote, I will focus on infrastructure in the next 4 years. Robust roads and robust trails enable robust economic opportunities and are an investment in our county's future. I humbly ask your vote in the primary this year. Vote Sullivan 2020.
Thank you. To Josh Blake, your 2-minute summary, please.
Well, thank you again to the Leesburg Chamber for having us all tonight. I'm sorry it couldn't be under different circumstances. I do think it's important to note that we are entering now, and we have been for a little while here, an unprecedented moment of economic uncertainty. I do think it's more important now than ever before. And I know I didn't get the question about the rollback rate, but it's more important now than ever before to share in the pain of the people who actually pay the bills in Lake County. And that's the private sector. The taxpayer should not experience a tax increase in this environment under no circumstances. One of the things I'm proudest of in the last 3.5 years, has been that we were able to get rid of the local business tax. We were able to deregulate in a couple different instances, try to streamline permitting. We're still working on that. I will say this, my political philosophy, as I summed up earlier, is to keep the government out of your hair and out of your wallet. And in 1993, President Reagan wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, and he summarized the situation nationally this way. He said, the problems we have in this country are not because the people are taxed too little. The problems we face are because the government spends too much. And I don't think there's much different now. In fact, it's much worse now than it was then in terms of our debt and our national political spending. And I just think we need to be very, very careful to share in the pain of the private sector. Government is all too eager to share in the revenues when times are good. Times are not good right now, and we don't know how bad it's going to get. We need to share in that pain and to make sure that the businesses of Lake County and the taxpayers are protected. And I would really appreciate your vote on August 18th.
Thank you. To Todd Luce for a 2-minute summary, please.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you very much for having us, and I appreciate it. And I too wish it were in person with people so we could shake hands and so forth and talk to everybody. But what I want you to know is that my reputation here in this county and my service to this county will carry on as a proven public servant, a public servant that has allowed me to foster and develop relationships across this county with professional leaders, not just in the business world, but in the government world as well, and leaders that trust me, who are supporting me. Some have endorsed me, both present and past, and they know that I can carry out what needs to be done for the citizens of this county. I've watched this county change. I too know that there are some struggles right now, and that we do have to be careful. We need to be prepared. We need to be prepared to both ways with our budget this year, and know that it could affect us for years to come. But I want people to know this: I will never jeopardize the safety of our citizens with our firefighters, our law enforcement, and our public services that we provide, veterans, public works, everybody. They work hard, and they too are taxpayers in this county, and they feel it as well. We need to make sure we provide a fiscally responsible budget, and we can do that by making sure that we look at it carefully and work fiscally responsible with all of our constitutional officers, and not just a no vote against everything. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to sign off very quickly before Wendy Breeden does her 2-minute summary because Sandy Moore will come close it down. I just want to personally and on behalf of Lake County thank all 7 of you and your families for doing this. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of courage, and you're all 7 of you are helping make Lake County better. So thank you. And I enjoyed being here tonight. And thank you to the Leesburg Chamber for having me. Wendy Breeden, your 2-minute summary, and then Sandy will come say goodnight to everyone.
Hey, I want to echo everyone and say thank you for hosting us, for the Leesburg Chamber and all the sponsors. And this is certainly very different from our traditional hobnob, and I miss that excitement. You know, I didn't go into much of my background to begin with, but I am a librarian by profession, and I worked for Lake County for 24 years, always in a leadership position, and built the Lake County library system. And that was built on strong partnerships. And I helped foster the development of this kind of unique system. And when I ran to change the culture of Lake County government. We have done that. And because of that, our board has civil discourse, and we have gotten so much done. And I think that's very important in these uncertain times. We are able to govern with honesty, hard work, and respect for each other. We've accomplished so much because of that. We've kept taxes low and yet still added 24 deputies, 36 firefighters, and we've successfully implemented a no-kill protocols. We've added trails. We've invested $10 million to get our roads paved. And we've done a great job in economic development, attracting businesses like Ocado Kroger, which will bring 400 jobs. And we can build on that as we move forward in these uncertain times. I think we're gonna, if we keep on track, we can get our economy back, get our businesses open, our people back to work, and still keep people safe.
All right, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. Thank our candidates for taking time out of your Thursday night to join us. I want you all to know that we are counting on you as citizens to lead us, to take care of us, to listen to us, and hear our voices when it comes to some of the things tonight, and of course other things. So thank you so much. Thank you for all of you who joined. I want to thank our moderator, Wendy. Oh my goodness, Mandy Wetstein. I tried to switch your name to Wendy Metstein. Anyway, but this is Mandy Wetstein, and we appreciate her very much for doing this. You know, she has a huge fee for this every time that she does it. So, but we're happy to pay. I'm kidding. She volunteered. So thank you so much. And if you want to let people know, they can log on to YouTube, and they can view this if they didn't get a chance to tonight. So if you all want to share that with your followers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.